like I've always said, even when I was younger, that like wrestling and comics just go together so well. Because to me, wrestling back in the 80s, and I'm guessing even now today, it always felt like it was a live action comic book.
Yeah.
And, like, they had these storylines, and then like to resolve them, they came together in the ring for the big fight. I mean, every comic was like that, back in, the 80s. Now it's a little talky with comics, but
it's good versus
even
evil.
with wrestling.
Yeah, right.
Good versus evil, masks, breathing fire, giants, little people, wrestlers with dwarfism, taking a beating, and they keep fighting, and it was amazing because it was like sports, only scripted,
right?
So you could potentially achieve the perfect ending to
sports is scripted, Ed.
Oh,
yeah. But like a good story, they built up the drama so that when these two guys, whoever it was, faced off, it was like you had real stakes involved, and you really wanted to see how it was going to turn out. What were you going to say, Johnny?
I was just going to say it's set up a lot like comics, especially nowadays, because what they're doing is they're trying to, sell buys for the pay-per-views and for events, right? So much like comics, where it's like you have all the feuds building up to the main event, right? Yeah. It's like crossover in comics. It's like, the X-Men are doing this and the Avengers are doing this, and all of a sudden X-Men versus Avengers. It's kind of in the same realm. They're very adjacent to one another.
Yeah, I agree.
I missed it. You reminded me. I kind of like. I grew up. So I was born and raised in Portland, and we had an NWA territory here, called Pacific Northwest Wrestling, where it was part of the NWA. Umbrella. Like every once in a blue moon, Ric Flair would come out to defend the belt against like a local guy. But you'd watch them every Saturday, and it was like there was no pay-per-view. But what I really missed was they would somehow work. The wrestlers were made to work the schedule into their rants. So like Playboy Buddy Rose would be up there and be like, Billy Jack Haynes, you and I. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Billy Jack will call you right now.
Yeah. Was that Billy Jack himself?
Yeah. Billy Rose never got a phone call during a promo. He would. He would go, Billy Jack Haynes, you and I were going to see each other in Corvallis, and I'm going to take care of you on Wednesday night, and then Thursday night we're going to be in Salem at the Armory, and I'm really good at and then Friday night, you and me in Woodburn, baby. So they'd have to work like the dates into the promo. And
it's almost like a radio station DJ having to work in, certain things.
I love that.
You have to give basically work the schedule into your promo. And then the other, I'm sorry, this is off topic, but like the other awesome thing is we had this, the sponsor was this like appliance king, like Tom Peterson. He was like the local the appliance king, right? And he would be at every Saturday night. He'd be at the matches for Pacific Northwest Wrestling, and he'd have his own little space right next to where the interviews were being given.
Okay.
And so that during the show they'd cut to him, and he'd be like, "I've got this Zenith 19-inch black and white television for $195. And you come on into Tom Peterson's, and he'd be selling like toasters and stuff." I'm not kidding you. This happened regularly. Like Playboy Buddy Rose would be giving an interview. Billy Jack Haynes would show up all pissed off. They'd start fighting, and it would spill into Tom Peterson's little like area, and they would be like slamming each. So the announcer would be like, "Oh my God, Playboy Buddy Rose just slammed Billy Jack's head into that 19-inch black and white Zenith television that's on sale at Tom Peterson's for $195 from now until Tuesday." I can't. They would work in his broad tail into like the action of the match.
Oh, I love it. I love shit like that.
and I guess to have that make sense, like now all they need to do is talk up the next pay-per-view, right? Like, they don't worry about appliances or something.
No, that's awesome. I love stuff like that. We did, because up here in Massachusetts, Johnny, did you ever go to a wrestling show?
Actually, I did. So
yeah, I went when I was younger, and it was just it was just the spectacle. There wasn't any of that stuff,
Yeah, I went to. So I remember going like to the old school ones at the Garden here in Boston and seeing WWF house shows and stuff. And then I kind of like we all fall out of it and we go back in, and some people come back and some people don't. And then later on in like my later teens, early college, that's kind of when like ECW got big, but not like big national, more like they were kind of touring the area. And I think those were some of the best shows I saw, because it's like I was seeing things that are completely bananas. Like I saw Spike Dudley jump 30 feet from a balcony into a ring at an IBFW hall in Waltham, Mass. Like it's just craziness.
Wow.
Things that I was at there's the mass transit event, and they talk about New Jack like basically murdering this kid in a ring in Revere, Mass. And I go to those shows. I wasn't at that one specifically, but I was at a lot of those where things were just wild. And it was the wild, wild west of professional wrestling at one point, where hardcore and blood was all the rage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How do wrestlers even walk away from
I know, right?
one match? Like one, how do they wrestle 300 times a year? I don't even understand how they do it once.
Yeah, right. Like, and not be like crippled for like 2 months,
I trip and fall. I bruise my knee. I'm like limping for days. These guys are going right back out there. It's unbelievable.
It's like
Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleash!